way knows how powerless we are when it comes to having real power and meaningful power to change the conditions under which our poor people suffer. And so the last thing I will say, we need to be washed from colonial education, an education that makes us lead our people in the way of our former masters rather than lead them in the way of true independence. We don't need French masters to tell us how to educate African children, nor do we need to be approved by England to teach our people what our people need to know. Each one of you have been educated in some of the finest universities and colleges of the world. But what good is it for us to be educated and our people to be ignorant? That imposes upon us a duty and a responsibility. Each one of us as leaders live in fine homes. We wear fine clothes. We drive in fine cars. But our people have nothing to eat because sometimes we lead not for the benefit of the people who we are supposed to lead for. Sometimes we lead our people to the benefit of our former colonial masters. So they won't trouble your leadership because your leadership is ineffective. Every strong leader that Africa produced has been killed by the same forces that hate black progress. Not only in Africa, but in America, we have seen our leaders who lead for our good cut down. We could call the roll on both sides of the Atlantic, but you and I are the leaders of today. You have the baton of leadership in your hand, and I have it in mine, and we, dear brothers and sisters, have it in ours. But the question is, will we lead, or will we play a game of let's get along? Get along for what purpose? You cannot sell out the future of your nation in order to live in luxury at the expense of the yearning of our people for self-development and economic development. Nor can our hands across the water be served by greedy, ambitious business people who are not really concerned with the development of a people but want to fatten their own pockets at the expense of people. We got to, no. I only have another minute, so let me say what I have to say. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. But I'm not a politician. I'm a man of God. And as a man of God, I cannot help myself. I have to say what God demands of me to say. Whether you like me or not is irrelevant and immaterial. I'm not seeking a vote. I'm seeking to be accepted by God as a representative of His will. So I close now, beloved leaders, begging you on behalf of our people to lead for the good of all of our people. Lead for the development of our people. Lead to erase ignorance from the heads of our people. And above all, let no one keep African leaders divided against each other. And let no one in America keep us divided one against each other. We don't communicate with each other. Therefore, an enemy gets between us and represents me to you and you to me. And therefore, I don't like you and you don't like me. And we never get together to strengthen our bond of unity. And it is the same in Africa. There are those who will tell you who you should be with and who you should not be with. I say to the government of the United States of America, you have a big role to play, but not a role to crush the growing good leadership in Africa. Your role is one of a nurturer. The baby is laying in the open field. Somebody has to wash the baby. Somebody has to cut the umbilical cord. Somebody has to nurse the baby to strength. That's what America, that's what the governments of Europe should be doing. The government of America should be in Africa, helping every African government to help itself. No African government can be free with its mouth in the kitchen of Europe. Every African government must grow food to feed itself. Every African government, I repeat, must grow food to feed itself. Do not let Europeans tell you that your land cannot grow food. You are eating. The animals are eating. Grow food and become self-independent. For when you grow your own food, make your own clothing, and build your own shelter, you become economically free. But you are tied to Europe in an ungodly way. You buy butter from them as though we can't make butter. We buy milk from them. We buy material from them that we could grow right on the African continent. I say, brothers and sisters, I want to be a leader, not for others. I would love to be a leader that God approves of, that leads for the sake of God and for the sake of the people. I appeal to you in the name of Allah. Leave this conference and go home and think about what we can do together to raise all of our people up from the bondage of ignorance and from the weakness that is under the foot of oppression. To the dear President of Benin, who told us today that the Pope came to Africa and asked Africa to forgive Europe for her evils done to Africa. I think the Pope should be commended for taking a moral stand, but he's only halfway there. I appeal to the Pope on behalf of Africa. There can be no forgiveness without an admission of sin. And there, wait. And there can be no admission of sin without an atonement for what one has done of evil. And so we ask the Pope, if he would ask us to forgive, I would ask the Pope from this stand, on behalf of this summit, please, Your Holiness, go to the capitals of Europe and ask them to admit their evil against Africa. That is not only yesterday, but today. Ask the capitals of Europe, Your Holiness, if they will admit their guilt. Ask them, are they willing to atone for their evil?